This is the Low Key Podcast. I do not own the rights to the music that's being played in future podcasts or past podcasts. This is the Low Key Podcast, episode 35, Joyride.
This is Queen Latifah in the house. Definitely representing Jersey on the love. Coolin' in Cali, she was living single, but damn, I miss home.
Forget New Jersey. I can't forget New Jersey. I can't forget New Jersey. I can't forget New Jersey.
When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. And all my family and peeps I knew when I was growing. Mommy and daddy made me proud to be an
What's going on? You're now listening to the Low Key Podcast. This is episode 35, Joyride. I'm going to be getting into a retro review of New Jersey Drive. And basically what I mean by retro review, this is a throwback review. This movie was made in 1995, and it was produced by Spike Lee. And it was one of the favorite movies me and my brothers used to watch. And it's one of the reasons I'm doing this. I'm not going to get into the reasons, but this is one of our favorite movies we used to sit and watch. It has one of the funniest moments, some of the funniest scenes in this movie. And not only that, growing up, when you watch this movie younger and growing up watching this movie, you see a lot of the lessons that was in this movie. A lot of the things as far as friendship and as far as seeing how individuals are, as far as when you have a parent that's there for you and when you don't have parents, when you have to basically provide for yourself, and not only provide for yourself, but make sure your family is good. And the main characters of this movie, which are Jason and Midget, it's one of those dynamic relationships, and with the things they have to go through is one of the draw-ins of this movie that makes you stay watching this movie and want to know what's going to go on with these guys, want to see them, you know what I'm saying? I ain't going to say succeed, but make it, you know what I'm saying? Just make it and survive, you know, because they are criminals. But the things that's going on, I can say today, with everything with as far as police and how they deal with especially black males, but not only black males, but with black individuals anyway, especially with what they did with Breonna Taylor and Eric Garner and everything that's going on. There's so many. I don't want to name all these names, man. I just want to say RIP to everybody that has had to deal with those situations as far as police brutality. But not only police brutality, but gun violence. Not only gun violence, but just, especially with everything that's going on with this year's 2020, RIP to everybody that has lost somebody in 2020, because there's so much death that's going on. You had the virus, and you have a lot that's going on, but like I said, I don't want to get off subject. I want to get into this review, the retro review of New Jersey Drive. And like I said, the reason I'm doing this is because me and my brothers used to watch this movie. And like I said, it's certain things going on with us. And I don't want to get into details, but it's one of the main reasons I want to talk about this movie. And like I said, this movie was produced by Spike Lee, and it has so many of seeing the relationship with Jason and Midget, and Jason having a mother that was always on him, that was always trying to make sure he's doing what he's supposed to do, going to school, not being in the streets. But like I said, Jason was was a kid. These are teenagers. And Jason was not trying to hear that. His mother was dating somebody, and that's not his father. That's not his blood father or anything, you know what I'm saying? And you already know how that go if you a young black male and you growing up in those situations. With having a mother that's dating a guy that's not your father, that's not in the household 24/7. And then you have Midget, and Midget is taking care of his grandmother, and he has brothers that's in and out of jail. And Midget, you don't see no mother or no father around at all. You don't see none of that in the present. You just see Midget doing what he's doing, hanging with his homies, hanging with his guys or whatnot, and going home and making sure his grandmother is good. And the way Jason and Midge's relationship develops, and you see everything they go through, and you see everything, the things they do together, and you see what goes on, and you understand both of those stories. You understand both of those individuals. You understand why Jason does what he does, why he says what he says, and you understand why Midget does what he does, and you understand why Midget says what he says, because both of these guys have two different things they're coming from, and they both have two different things they got to go back to after they go home, after everything they dealt with in the streets, because both of these guys are in the streets. And you have all these other side characters. I mean, you got a Tiny Dime, which is played by Donald Faison. Donald Faison, I mean, everything. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to not forget these guys' name, because Gabriel Cassius, who plays Midget, he been in a lot of stuff too. Sharon Crowley, I don't really see him in too many things, but he plays Jason. And Jason, of course, is the main character. And you have the guy that plays the cop that's always on them and whatnot. But like I said, you have things that's going on in this movie that has a lot to do with what's going on today. And this movie was made in, like I said, 1995, especially with the whole thing that's going on with police brutality as far as towards black individuals. And you can't just say black males, because you have everything that's going on with Breonna Taylor. And like I said in the beginning, so RIP everybody that's had to deal with those situations, but also RIP everybody that's passed away in 2020. But as far as this movie go, New Jersey Drive, it's one of my favorites, man. Like I said, me and my brothers used to watch this movie when we were young. We watched it so many times. I first seen this movie on BET, so it was edited and everything, and I finally got to watch it unedited on the DVD, and it was everything, man. Well, sitting there watching these guys go through what they had to go through, and just seeing them deal with stealing cars, because this is primarily what the movie is about. It's about teenagers stealing cars, young black teens stealing cars or whatnot, just going on joyrides or whatnot. And you hear at the beginning Jason talking like it just wasn't about the model of the car. They wasn't worrying about what type of car it was. They just a car, just to drive in a car, just to all of them to be riding or whatnot. And throughout the movie, you start to see why these guys are doing what they're doing. And that's what I'm saying as far as their relationships, and not only their relationships, as far as their lives and what they have to go back home to and the things they're trying to do. And you see why they out here doing what they're doing, because outside of home, basically the streets is their family. And what I mean by the streets, as far as the people they're around, the other individuals they're around, their peers or whatnot, all these guys are together. They all do the same thing, steal cars. They do what they do at nighttime or whatever. And then when they got to deal with the cops, they try to outrun the cops. Their whole thing, and that's another thing about them, their whole thing is about outrunning the cops, joyriding the cops, doing what they're doing. And as far as getting away from the cops, basically trying to outmaneuver the cops or whatnot. And you know how dangerous that is. And it's certain things, it's so much that goes on with this movie. And there's so many things that you see how these guys have to intertwine with their relationship, as far as what are you going to do to take care of your people, and what are you going to do if you have to try to listen to somebody that's trying to help you. And you see how that goes in between these two guys, and how and I'm talking about Midget and Jason, and the things they have to deal with as far as the relationship not only they have with their friends, but the relationship they have with the individuals they have as far as their family members. You know what I'm saying? As far as you have Jason, like I said, his mama trying to tell him, you can't be doing this, you can't be doing this, and then the third. Then you have Midget, who's just trying to make sure his grandmama good. And then you have his brothers that's in and out of jail. So when you see how they have to deal with these situations and then deal with each other and try to understand each other, that's the relationship that you're looking at. And that's the thing that drives the movie. That's the whole movie, and the reason why you so engaged in the movie and want to know what's going to go on by the end of the movie. And not only that, what makes you really engaged too is just seeing how these police officers deal with these kids. And like I keep saying, these are kids, these are teenagers. And you have these grown men, as far as police officers, doing whatever they got to do to stop these kids from stealing cars. And I mean by whether it's death or going to jail, they don't care. And there's a lot that goes on with this movie, and I'm not going to really spoil too much, but this movie was made in 1995, and I think a lot of people have seen it, because like I said, it was almost one of those BET baby boy movies that played 24/7. what I do want to say is I got a little information as far as the things that went on with the movie, as far as filming and stuff. Because, like I said, being one of my favorite movies, I wanted to learn a couple of things about the movie. Especially, like, I enjoyed these characters so much, I wanted to see what things they was doing. But things I learned about the movie is they couldn't even film a lot of it in Newark. The movie was primarily based on was Newark, New Jersey. And they couldn't film a lot of that in here because they didn't have permission to film in the city limits. So a lot of the locations they were filming in was Brooklyn, Glendale, Queens. And these were still, back then in those times, Queens and Brooklyn, these were still hood spots that they were filming in. So they was doing a lot of it in there. And it was more convenient because the director of this movie, he was a guy that actually did a lot of joyriding in his earlier years. And that was like, wow. So that's why you can see a lot of this movie was so, it felt to me realistic. I don't care what you say. That's why I give a lot of credit to the actors too in this movie. This shit felt realistic as hell because, you know, back then they had a lot of movies where they had niggas playing teenagers that wasn't teenagers. And I ain't even gonna lie, me being older, a lot of these niggas do not look like teenagers. Let's be real. They do not look like teenagers. And just like I said, it don't take nothing away from the movie though. Once the movie gets started and once it get going, I'm still right back in that same zone I was when I was younger, just watching the movie and being engaged with these characters. And like I said, just learning these things was like, wow, I ain't know that. Because one thing you know is that back then, Newark, New Jersey, it was the primary location for car theft, joyriding. So yeah, that was a lot going on, and that's why a lot of this movie was based on. And like I said, seeing everything they did with this movie as far as the relationships and just seeing how things are today and seeing how much it relates to a movie that was made in 1995 says a lot about what's going on today. And that's why this movie is so relatable. And just enjoying this movie. And like I said, it had a lot of funny scenes in it. One particular scene, and man, this movie was made in 1995. And that's why I said, if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it just for this scene in particular. They steal a cop car and they pull over a bunch of the white kids in the Jeep. And I'm not going to give no more away from there. All I'm going to say is one of the funniest scenes in movies, period. It's a funny ass scene, man. But when you grow up and just seeing how wild these kids were and the things they were doing and knowing that it's kids that actually do this movie was based off kids that's out here stealing cars at that time and was doing a lot of these things, and seeing how brutal the police were. The police were brutal at this time. Like I said, they will take you to jail or whatnot, but they will kill you too. You know what I'm saying? You had a scene where an individual was basically getting away, was basically trying to drive away or whatnot, and they just started shooting this car straight up. And not a cop was in front of this kid at all. He was just driving straight forward, trying to get away or whatnot, doing, you know what I'm saying? And they just shot the car straight up. And like I said, that was showing just the brutality of how far cops would go to stop certain individuals, and these certain individuals having to all be black teens. And it didn't matter if you were male or female. And you just see everything that's going on today. You like, wow, a lot of this stuff is so relatable. And you go back and watch these movies, and yeah, that certain scene, it is still funny to this day, but a lot of these things aren't funny, and it still makes you just like, wow, man. Just seeing how we were and the things we went through, you just seeing how younger kids, and especially young black males, and the things they had to go through, and the things young black males still go through to this day, it's so relatable to this movie. Like I said, that was made in 1995. And you see stuff that's going on. So just me and Yoga and us watching this, man, we just sit back and we just enjoy, like I said, the relationship between the kids and the things they were going through. Like I said, you having friends and you out here doing what you doing. And we weren't stealing cars or nothing, you know what I'm saying? But still just seeing those relationships and seeing how individuals going to act if you get into a situation. If somebody going to hold it down, if y'all out here doing criminal activities and y'all all get locked up at the same time, is somebody going to tell or somebody going to say certain things? And I'm talking about how they did the film. And even to this day, you see how you have a group of people out here doing certain things, and you like, are we all gonna go through this together, or is certain individuals gonna have something to say, or they gonna have something to do? Because you don't know how certain individuals are when they have a household they gotta hold down, or they got a parent that's gonna take care of them. Because a lot of people that's out here doing these certain things are young, and that's what this movie shows you, that these are kids. They're young. They are out here doing certain things, and you see it's a certain scene in this movie where a certain character is talking to their parent, and they like, I mean, I see this and that and the third, and they like, but I don't know what's next. What's next? Like, what's after that? And that parent is just telling them like, I don't know, but we're gonna do it together. And you looking at that scene, and you like, okay, you go to this other character, and it's like, but they don't got that. They don't got that parent that's gonna sit there and tell them that. So you see why that character is the way they are. And that's why you so engaged, like I said, with their relationship with Jason and Midget. And just getting to understand where these two are coming from and why they handle certain things the way they handle it, especially going into the end of the movie. And seeing how different things go from the beginning to the end. And even seeing the side characters as far as their friends and their relationships. And how you basically see how who is who from the beginning and what's going on. And how many individuals are standing beside you by the end of that. And just seeing how when they have to deal with situations, especially when they're together, whether it's dealing with the cops, whether it's dealing with their family members, how do they deal with those situations, whether they're together or apart? And dealing with the whole justice system, and how you had a certain scene where you have a black judge telling the character how they understand what's going on in the inner city and how they dealing with inner youth. And you see how while that judge is talking, they're playing a scene where they're going up to commit a crime right then and there. And this guy just came out of court. That's what I'm saying. When you don't, it's just showing you how it's consequences for not only your actions, but it's also showing you how do these children, especially being a young black male, deal with situations when they don't have an individual that's in their ear, or they don't have that guidance to tell them you're not supposed to be doing this. And they're showing you individuals that do have the guidance, but they still want to do what they want to do because that's their vision. That's tunnel vision. They got their own plan of what they're going to do. And not only that, they don't see an outcome for certain situations. Like they like, okay, when I graduate school, what's next? But what am I going to do after I graduate school? So I just wanted to get in there because, like I said, this was one of our favorite movies as far as me and my brothers when we were younger. And I just wanted to go into a retro review. I'm gonna be doing some more retro reviews on other movies. So I hope y'all want to go back in time with me and just listen to some of the older movies that we used to love when we was younger. But thank you for tuning in. It's the Low Key Podcast, episode 35, Joyride.
Latifah, no doubt one of New Jersey's finest. So, said it all, get them up on my own, cause Jersey's what I think about when I think of home. Don't let no one get close to you except the chosen. Stick with the ones who meant the most to you when you were broken blue. That's how fam do. That's how you stay true around these snakes that freaking smile when they hate you.